Mixed woods. At intermediate heights of between 700 and 800 m above sea level, mixed woods of spruce, Piscia abies, and common beech would predominantly be found under natural conditions. However, apart from a few remnants, these were supplanted a long time ago by spruce stands as a result of deliberate forest management. Sycamore trees are also found in these woods. Spruce woods. Spruce woods thrive in the highest locations from about 800 m to the tree line at around 1000 m above sea level. These woods are also home to some deciduous trees such as rowan, silver and downy birches, Betula pendula and Betula pubescens, and willows, Salix spec. Conditions of high humidity foster an environment rich in mosses and lichens. In spite of the near-natural habitat, there are only a few indigenous genetically adapted, autochthonous, spruce trees. Woodreed spruce woods dominate. A well-developed ground vegetation thrives on their moderately rocky and fresh, but certainly not wet, soils, characterized in appearance especially by grasses such as shaggy woodreed, Calamigristus villosa, and wavy hair grass, Avenella flexuosa. The soils in the higher regions are, as in most of the Harz, comparatively poor in nutrients and bases, so that only a few herbaceous plants occur here, such as heath bedstraw, Galium saxatile. For that reason it is more the ferns, mosses, lichens and fungi that, in addition to spruce trees, characterize these woods. Boulders and stone runs occur in the areas of weather-resistant rock in the high, alti, montane and montane zones. These are extreme habitats for vegetation. Due to the lack of soil material, only weak, straggly, very open spruce woods thrive here. They have an especially high variety of trees and allow more room of light-loving species such as silver birch, rowan, sycamore, willow and dwarf bushes such as the blueberry, Vaccinium myrtillus. Mosses and ferns are also common here. One unusual species is the Carpathian birch, Betula pubescens subsp. carpatica. Bog spruce woods are found around raised bogs on marshy and boggy soils. In these sorts of places spruce woods can, in exceptional cases, also form the natural woodland in lower down the mountains. These wet, moorland woods have a high proportion of peat mosses, Sphagnum spec. The ground vegetation may also have a rich proliferation of low bushes such as cowberry, Vaccinium viticidalia. Clumps of purple moorgrass, Mollinia cereulea, aerial Sioux, typical of this type of woodland habitat. The characteristic species of fungi in natural spruce woods are Felinus viticola and prunes and custard, Trichilomopsis decora. Ravine, Schlutwald, riparian, Allwald, and river source, Quellwald, woods only occur in small areas. In these places the common beech gives way to hardier deciduous species such as sycamore, large-leaved lime, Tilia platyphylos, Scots elm, or ash. The herbaceous layer is similar to that of the better-nourished beech woods. Notable species amongst the plant communities here include the alpine blue sow thistle, Cicibita alpina, perennial honesty, Lunaria rediviva, hard shield fern, Polystichum aculeatum, and long beech fern, Phagopteris connectilis. Raised bogs. Torfhorse moor. The raised bogs in the Harz are some of the best preserved in Central Europe. They were formed at the end of the last ice age about 10,000 years ago. A significant proportion of the vegetation on these raised bogs is made up of peat mosses, Sphagnum spec. Flax, Schlenken, and the hummocks, Bolton, are home to different species of flora. In the flax, for example, Sphagnum cuspidatum is found, whereas the hummocks are preferred by Sphagnum magellanicum. The blanket of peat moss is penetrated by dwarf bushes such as cowberry and blueberry. Bog rosemary, Andromeda polifolia, is a relict of the Ice Age. Other such Ice Age plants include the dwarf birch, Betula nana, and few flowered sedge, Carex borsiflora. Cranberries, Vaccinium oxycoccus, bloom from May to June. The black crowberry, Empitrum nigrum, may also be seen amongst those bearing black fruit. Common heather, Cornuna vulgaris, grows on drier hummocks, and occasionally the cross-leaved heath, Erica tetralix, may be found. Typical grass saria, the sheathed cotton grass, Eriophrum vaginatum, known for its bright, white clusters of fruit, and deer grass, Serpus cespitosus, which is rust red in the autumn. One fascinating moorland plant is the round-leaved sundew, Drosera rotundifolia. Bog or northern bilberry, Vaccinium uliginasum, grows on drier margins of the bog. Fauna. The Eurasian lynx, once again found living wild in the Harz. A multitude of wild animals live in the beech forests of the Harz Mountains. Over 5,000 species, most of them insects, have their home in these woods. They include many species that help to decompose leaves and work them into the soil and ground cover, including springtails, oribitid mites, woodlice, roundworms, millipedes, earthworms, and snails. Characteristic breeding birds in the beech woods, with their abundance of dead wood, are the black woodpecker, Triocoppus martius, and stock dove, Columbanus. An indication of the natural state of the beech woods in the Harz is the return of the black stork, Ciconia nigra. This shy and susceptible resident of richly diverse deciduous and mixed forests has become very rare in Central Europe due to increasing disturbance of its habitat, caused by a lack of old trees and natural brooks. Through improvements to its habitat, including the naturalization of waterways and the creation of relatively undisturbed peaceful areas, the black stork population has now recovered. A typical mammal of such deciduous woods is the European wildcat, Felis sylvestris, that has established a stable population in the Harz. It prefers the diverse wooded areas, which are for a rich variety of food. The animal kingdom of the mixed beech and spruce woods is also diverse. Species that thrive in mixed forest are especially at home. For example, the mixed mountain forest is the natural habitat of the capercaillie, Tetralurigulus. The tame elm's owl, Aegolius funereus, may also be found here. It breeds almost exclusively in black woodpecker holes in old beeches, and needs, unlike the spruce woods, more open beech forest with its higher population of small mammals in its search for food. For cover, however, it prefers the darker, denser spruce trees. A large number of the animals that live in natural spruce forest are suited to the special conditions of life in higher parts of the Harz. Typical residents amongst the bird population include the crested tit, Paruscristatus, goldcrest and firecrest, Regulus and Regulus ignicapillus, siskin, Carduelis spinus, tree creeper, Certhia familiaris, coal tit, Paraceta, and crawsbill, Noxia curvirostra. Special mention should be made here of the pygmy owl, Glaucidium passarinum, which is threatened with extinction and which lives in the submontane to subalpine zones within mixed and pine forests interspersed with open areas. They prefer spruce woods for breeding, but feed in more open stands of trees or on open moorland. Like the black stork, the pygmy owl had long since disappeared from the Harz, but returned in the 1980s of its own volition, as its ancestral homeland once again became more natural, so that there was sufficient food to support it, insects, small mammals and small birds, as well as standing dead wood, spruce trees with woodpecker holes. In addition to the many species of birds, there is a range of large butterflies in the various spruce woods that, outside of the Harz, are seriously endangered or simply non-existent. Two species will be mentioned here as examples. Nophos sordarius occurs in old, open wood-reed spruce forest, sometimes in connection with stone runs or bog spruce forests. Onthepharia sigiata is a native of the bilberry-rich bog spruce woods. Only a few animals are able to survive the extreme conditions of the raised bogs. Examples of these are the alpine emerald dragonfly, Somatachlora alpistris, which only occurs in Lower Saxony in the Harz, and is endangered in Germany, and the subarctic dana, Ischia subarctica, a damselfly which is threatened with extinction. Rocks and stone runs are important habitat components for the peregrine falcon, Falco peregrinus, and ringgoozle, Turdus torquatus. The peregrine, which is threatened with extinction here, needs steep rock outcrops with little vegetation. After its population had died out in the Harz, a breeding pair was re-established in the region. A crucial contribution has been made by extensive efforts to promote quiet areas and the ancestral breeding grounds of this shy species. Since 1980, a breeding pair has settled in the eastern Harz as the result of a wildlife reintroduction project. The ringgoozle prefers semi-open stone runs and lightly wooded transition zones between treeless raised bogs and forests. The Harz is home to one of its few, isolated breeding areas in Central Europe. Its main distribution area extends across northwest Europe, including large parts of England and Scotland, as well as the high mountains of southern and eastern Europe. The waterways, with their distinct mountain stream character, play an important role right across the Harz. In comparison with the other natural regions of Lower Saxony, they are still very natural and varied, and the water is very clean. As a result of the high water velocity of the Harz streams, flowers rarely gain a foothold in the water. Even the animals in these streams need to be well suited to high velocities. Only a few species, such as fish, swim actively against the stream. The most common species are brown trout, salmon Truttiforma fario, and bullhead, Cottus gobio. Much richer in variety, by contrast, is the range of species in the system of crevices under the stream bed. In addition to the insects and fish hatchlings that thrive here, may be found protozoans, flateworms, Turbellaria, and water mites, Hygrobatoidea. Other species of animals cling fast to the stones, e.g. caddisfly larvae, Trichoptera, and snails, or can only live in reduced water velocities on the bed of the stream or on stones by having flat body shapes, e.g. stonefly larvae. In the calmer parts of the stream, behind stones or in blankets of moss, there are also water beetles, Hydrophilidae, and small shrimp-like amphipods. Occasionally the golden-ringed dragonfly, Corduligaster boltoni, and beautiful demoiselle, Calopteryx virgo, a type of damselfly, can be seen by streams in the Harz. The dipper, Cinclus cinclus, which is found everywhere on Harz streams, occurs almost exclusively in the highlands. Its habitat is very fast-flowing, clear mountain streams with wooded banks. It can dive and run underwater along the stream bed. It turns stones over in its search for food. The grey wagtail, Motacilla cinerea, also uses the rich food supplies of the mountain brooks. In 2000, the lynx was successfully reintroduced by the Harz National Park, and it has since fitted well into the ecology of the region. 1. Through specific conservation measures in past years, the retreat of the bat population in the Harz has been halted. Amongst the mammals that may be hunted are the red deer, roe deer, wild boar and mouflon. History. The Harz was first mentioned as Hartingo in an 814 deed by the Carolingian King Louis the Pious. Settlement within the mountains began only 1,000 years ago, as in ancient times dense forests made their region almost inaccessible. The suffix "road", from German, roden, to stub, denotes a place where woodland had been cleared to develop a settlement. The year 968 saw the discovery of silver deposits near the town of Goslar, and mines became established in the following centuries throughout the mountains. During the Middle Ages, or from this region ways exported along trade routes to far-flung places, such as Mesopotamia. The wealth of the region declined after these mines became exhausted in the early 19th century. People abandoned the towns for a short time, but prosperity eventually returned with tourism. Between 1945 and 1990, the inner German border ran through the Harz, the west belonging to the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany, and the east of German Democratic Republic, East Germany. Today the Harz forms a popular tourist destination for summer hiking as well as winter sports. Prehistory and early history. About 700,000 to 350,000 years ago, Homo erectus hunted in and around the Harz near Bilzingsleben, Thuringia, Hildesheim and Schöningen, Lower Saxony. The Neanderthals entered the stage about 250,000 years ago and hunted aurochs, bison, brown bear and cave bear, mammoths, rhinos, horses, reindeer, forest elephants and other animals in the Harz region. Tools used by Neanderthals were discovered inter alia in the Einhorn cave in the southern Harz, 100,000 years ago, and in the Ruby Land caves. Finds of birch pitch near Eskilsleven on the northern edge of the Harz point to the use of this prehistoric adhesive by Neanderthals about 50,000 years ago. The Upper Paleolithic Revolution, about 40,000 years ago, saw Homo sapiens move from Africa into Europe, including to the Harz region, where they appear to have ousted the Neanderthals and subsequently settled here. Many discoveries in the Harz, such as the bronze club of Thal, which was found by the Ross Strap, could indicate an earlier Celtic occupation of the Harz. 2. Middle Ages. The Harz itself was first mentioned in a deed by the Emperor, Louis the Pious, from the year 814, in which it was referred to by its High German form, Hartingo. According to the Fulda Annals of 852, the Harz was occupied by the Harades, and after whom the Harudugor, Haradurum Pagus, was named. Harad, from which Hard, Hart and Harz are derived, means forest or forested mountains, and the Harades were the residents or dwellers in the Harad. Of more recent origin are settlements whose names end in road, a suffix that is first discernible in the Harz from the mid-19th century. Where the founders of these villages came from is unknown. Harz 1852. Charlemagne declared the Harz a restricted imperial forest, a Reichsbanwald. The Saxon Mirror, Saxon Spiegel, the oldest German law book, Rechtsbuch, probably published around 1224/30 at Falkenstein Castle in the Selk Valley, later made the imperial restriction clear: whoever rides through the Harz forest must unstring his bow and crossbow and keep dogs on a line. Only crowned royalty, Gekronte Haupter, are allowed to hunt. Ike von Repkau's Saxon Spiegel, which, for centuries, formed the basis on which German law was administered, described the Harz as a place where wild animals are guaranteed protection in the king's restricted forests. There were 3 restricted forests, so described in the state of Saxony, where there was no longer unfettered access for everyone. This ban did not last forever. Mining, ironworks, water management, increasing settlement, woodland clearances, cattle driving, agriculture, and later tourism all undermined this imperial protection over the centuries. As early as 1224, monks who had settled in Walkenried bought extensive tracts of forest in the western Harz, to secure economically the 1/4 of the Rummelsburg or profits promised to them by Frederick Barbarossa in 1129. From that it can be deduced that there was already a shortage of wood then. From the 12th to the 14th centuries, large parts of the Harz were managed economically by the Cistercian Abbey of Walkenried. As well as agriculture and fishing, they also controlled the silver mining industry in the Upper Harz and in Goslar. In the middle of the 14th century, the settlements in the Harz became heavily depopulated as a result of the Black Death. and a systematic resettlement of mining villages in the Upper Harz did not take place until first half of the 16th century. Prospect des Harz Swords, view of the Harz forest, 16th century until 1933. In